This was a completely out of left field move. I don't think anyone really even saw this coming. And you look at where you saw the initial reports of, oh, the Hurricanes are making a trade. Then it sounds like it could be Miller. Then it's like, okay, well, what's the return? And the fact it was a sign and trade, and going off the initial what the contract is, you're looking at an 8x7.5, which is still a really good deal, all things considering the fact that he's only 25. I know a lot of people were asking, well, why is he making more than Jacob Slavin? There's no way. And it's like, well, point being, Jacob Slavin took less money because he wanted to stay in Carolina, and he knows that you need to get other guys around you. Plus, he signed that contract last season, so where the cap is completely different. But not every guy wants to make oogles of money and make it, they want to go, make 10 and a half, $11 million. They want to build guys around them. Plus, Jacob Slavin's going to be there for his entire career. Money doesn't factor of how good a guy is. Some guys just want to make less money to build a team. Outside of that, you go and trade it's a conditional first, so it's whichever one is better of the Hurricanes or the Stars, but the Stars is top 10 protected, and they gave up their 2026 second as well. On top of that, they did have to trade Scott Morrow, and you saw from the video the Hurricanes put out last week that they threw Morrow in because they knew they had to give up something, and that's the thing. If you want to get good, you're going to have to trade good in that process. So a lot of people are saying it's an overpay. No, not really, because if you don't trade Morrow, you're going to have a bigger logjam of defensemen, and if they think that's the move to go down, since they didn't have a third, they thought that's the best one to go with. So it's just one of those things where, the Hurricanes, had to do what they needed to do to get Miller, and it sounded like that Morrow wasn't ready, and that was just a trade that worked out to where they can go get a defenseman who's bigger, blocks 110 shots, has 107 hits, has a really good offensive game, good reach. It's a trade that made sense, and a lot of people are thinking it's a little bit of an overpay or it's a little much of an ask to do that. But hey, man, guy makes swings, and you got a defenseman who can fit this system perfectly with a lot. He's younger and faster and better offensive upside than the guys who are leaving out the door that you just paid $500,000 like less in Orlov and all of that.
I think the big issue at times that I think people are talking about, primarily Rangers fans who are trying to comment on this, they're having such recency bias in the fact of Miller had a down year. Everyone on the Rangers had a down year last year. And yeah, when Miller wasn't paired with Adam Fox, his numbers suffered. But like I just said, everyone's numbers suffered last year with the Rangers. They completely underperformed. So how are you just going to blame one kid for the entire franchise not living up to expectations? That is not on him. And you like the beautiful part that Miller brought up too was like who he models his game after, and he said Jacob Slavin. So to have your almost role model under your wings to teach you those little things. But Scott Morrow, I forgot the exact quote, but in the playoffs he called Slavin like a knowledge book on how to play defense. So you have someone who's open to learn, someone who's already a big body, physical, willing to do whatever it takes for your team. His potential is sky high, and I think Rod and this team are going to unlock it.
I mean, if you even have a veteran of Brent Burns saying he learned from Slavin every single time they hit the ice. So, I mean, guys are just learning from Slavin left and right. And again, like you were saying, if you have a guy like Miller, he's just getting to his prime. He's already he's pretty good defensively, but he's also got a little bit of that offensive bite. He's there to throw the hits. But if you just add in Jacob Slavin being like, hey, this is how you could do this without getting a penalty, then you're kind of undefeatable. Like that's great. And it's the one thing I did love too about what Rod said is it reminded him a lot of Shea getting him. And, Ranger fans weren't super happy with Shea either, but Shea thrived here. So like, why would you take what another team says, oh, this player isn't going to do super well? I mean, we got Shea and he thrived here. Even most recently, we got Jankowski from the Preds, and the Preds are doing terrible. And you're like, all right, who's this random like fourth line guy? Like, what if he? And he comes in and he's scoring goals left and right. Just start like different systems work better for different guys. So I'm excited to see him. I love that he says he models it after Slavin, because that's a guy that's looking to be so finely tuned defensively, but also, staying out of the box. Really, like, that's the Canes game, is defensive prowess. Like, that's what we take. We're like, we're going to work you down so much with our defense that then we're going to turn around and score on you and just wear you down. So I'm excited for it. It's not something I saw coming either. I did point out, everyone was like, wow, they really must not like they must really not like Morrow to be sending him off. But if you look at it, we've got, so the two, we like let go, like Burns and Orlov out, but you still got Slavin, Chatfield,
Walker, Gossesbear,
and Gossesbear. So you've got
Nikishin.
you've got most of your defensive core there. And if you got your two, speaking of Nikishin, your two like newer, younger guys coming up, and Nikishin and Morrow, that's a lot to ask, having two newbies kind of on your line, like newbies. Like, one is just coming into their NHL careers. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to bet on one guy that you got to, kind of watch grow into it, it's always going to be Nikishin. So Morrow is always going to have a little bit of a hard time getting into this lineup with what we have right now. And he's a really good player, but I don't think he should be waiting to be seventh defenseman for the Canes forever when he could get an opportunity with another team. So as much as I hate that he went to the Rangers of all places, I think it's going to be better for him long run, as he's actually going to get the ice time. He's going to get, like, it's kind of like Ghost. When we had Ghost before, Ghost wanted to be here, but there wasn't room for him in the lineup at the time. So he was like, I got to go somewhere else. I want to play more. I can do more. And then he came back here and he got slotted into a role more fitting for him, rather than, less minutes, lower down in the lineup. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. Again, not a move I don't think any of us saw coming, but a move that I think we're all really hopeful for with our defensive core.
I'm going to jump in real quick and defend Scott Morrow, because too many people hated on Scott. I was probably Scott's biggest fan. Like, that kid, there's going to be some goals he scores against us in the future I'm going to be so pissed off about, because I'll be like, Scott, you're doing that in a Rangers jersey? Come on. But for him to get thrown into that role versus the now back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, that is so much to ask of a guy that young. So there's no reason to blame Scott for anything that happened in the ECF. He's going to be fine. He's going to do really well for the Rangers. Now, on Miller, to touch on his game a little bit more, this is a write-up from Shayna Goldman from The Athletic. And here we got, Miller's a naturally gifted player. His skating can be one of the best strengths between his long stride and acceleration. He isn't the most prolific scorer, but he can make the first pass out of the zone on his own. Miller has the wheels to play with pace and transition to get the puck up the ice, which helped the Rangers generate more quality offense in his minutes. And then moving forward, even more importantly, for someone generally tasked with playing against top offensive competition, he has the tools to shut down opponents. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and going back to Morrow, yeah, no, that's just tough on a kid who's like not even like 22, 23 to go and hey, go do this job. Yeah, that's tough. So you can't really. I would never really put blame on him. It was just a tough situation to do that for rookies. But going back to Miller, yeah, you're adding a guy who's got the quickness, and there's a lot of mock-ups when you look at his overall skating is in some high percentiles. Even Nikolai Ehlers, if you go to NHL Edge, which I would definitely recommend. Both of those guys, their percentiles are through the roof, and you're going to feel really good about that. Now, on top of that, learning from Jacob Slavin, the good thing too is when you look at the team defense of what the pairings could look like, your left side could literally look like Slavin, Miller, Nikishin. That's a great whole left side of the ice. And then you look at the right side, Walker, Chatfield, and Gossesbear. Yeah. You put Miller with Chatfield, my goodness, you talk about a nasty, quick second group that can throw a lot of hits, because both of those guys love to hit people and got speed. So that would look so perfect as a second pairing. We saw what Slavin and Walker can do together in the playoffs. They were both shut down. They were both very great. And then you throw a guy like Gossesbear who can play on both sides, and you kind of ease Nikishin a little bit more as a third left side defenseman with a guy who's been there and done that on the third pair left side. And you got Ghost who can play the other side. That is a really good top six. I know we'll talk about our seventh defenseman later on in the show, but Slavin Walker, Miller Chatfield, Nikishin Gostisbehere is your 6. My absolute goodness, it's probably the best 6 that the Hurricanes have had. And we've said that we thought last year's was good. This upcoming season's 6 of defensemen, good night. Probably one of the best in the last and under the whole Brendan Moore era for the Hurricanes with the current 6 they're going to have.